Chapter 1. The Toast. If you've ever been the only person at the table who doesn't belong, you know the feeling. It was one of those polished, picture-perfect Sunday family dinners, the kind with linen napkins, crystal glasses, and my mother-in-law's obsession with appearances. Her house in Connecticut always smelled like rosemary chicken and quiet judgment. I had been married to Daniel for 3 years. 3. And somehow I was still the new one. His mother, Patricia, sat at the head of the long oak table like she was presiding over a board meeting instead of dinner. My father-in-law carved the roast. My sister-in-law scrolled through her phone between forced smiles. Daniel squeezed my knee under the table the way he does when he senses tension coming. That squeeze, it means just let it go. I had learned to let a lot of things go. The comments about how Daniel's ex, Caroline, just understood the family better. The framed photo in the hallway that had never been taken down. The way Patricia would say, "Oh, Daniel used to love this dish," as if I hadn't been cooking for him for years. But that night felt different. Patricia stood up slowly, lifting her wine glass. The room quieted immediately. She loved an audience. "Well," she said, smiling too sweetly, "since we're all here together again." Daniel shifted beside me. Patricia raised her glass higher. "I'd like to make a toast," she continued, "to Daniel's first love." The words landed like a plate shattering on tile. There was a pause, a small confused laugh from someone at the far end of the table. Then she added casually, "To Caroline, the one who really had his heart." My ears started ringing. I felt 20 pairs of eyes flick toward me. Daniel froze. He didn't say anything. Not, "Mom, stop." Not, "That's inappropriate." Nothing. Patricia smiled at me across the table, not apologetic, not embarrassed, satisfied. And in that moment, I understood something. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't nostalgia. This was a message. "You are temporary." My face burned, but I refused to cry. I had promised myself years ago that I would never cry at this table. Daniel finally cleared his throat. "Mom," but it was weak, too late, a half-hearted protest wrapped in discomfort. Patricia tilted her head. "Oh, honey, don't be so sensitive. We all know first loves are special." She looked at me again, like I was a guest, like I should be grateful for the seat. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I could either shrink or I could stand, and for the first time in 3 years, I pushed my chair back and I stood up. Chapter 2. I didn't sit back down. The sound of my chair scraping against the hardwood floor cut through the silence. Every head turned fully toward me now. Patricia's smile didn't falter. She expected tears, maybe an awkward excuse to the bathroom, maybe a tight smile in submission. She did not expect me to stay standing. I picked up my wine glass slowly. My hand wasn't shaking. That surprised me the most. I looked at Daniel first. He wouldn't meet my eyes. That hurt more than the toast. Then I looked at her. "To first loves," I repeated calmly. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Patricia gave a satisfied nod, thinking I was about to surrender. I smiled. "Yes, to first loves, the ones who teach us what we deserve and what we don't." The room went very still. Daniel's head snapped up. I continued, "Because sometimes your first love shows you what it feels like to beg for attention, to compete for approval, to shrink yourself so you don't make anyone uncomfortable." Patricia's smile tightened. I wasn't raising my voice. I didn't need to. "And then," I added, "you grow up. You realize love isn't about nostalgia. It's about loyalty. It's about who stands beside you, especially when it's inconvenient." That one was for Daniel. He swallowed hard. Patricia let out a soft laugh. "Well, I certainly didn't mean—" "Oh, I know," I interrupted gently. "You meant exactly what you said." The air shifted. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. I turned slightly, addressing the whole table now. So I'd like to make a toast, too. No one moved. To being someone's present, not their comparison. To marriages built on partnership, not memory. And to the courage to stand up when you're being quietly pushed out of your own seat. I lifted my glass. No one clinked theirs, but my father-in-law slowly raised his. Then Daniel. A second too late again. I took a sip, and then I did something Patricia never saw coming. I set my glass down. And since we're celebrating first loves, I said evenly, Daniel, maybe you should tell everyone why that one ended. Daniel's face drained of color. Patricia stiffened. That's not appropriate. Neither was the toast. The room felt electric now. Daniel finally spoke. Emily, it was a warning, but I wasn't afraid of this conversation anymore. Because the truth wasn't romantic. Caroline hadn't left because she was the love of his life. She left because Patricia controlled everything. The house, the money, the guest list, the future. Caroline once told Daniel she felt like she was dating his mother, and she walked away. I held Daniel's gaze. We've been married 3 years, I said quietly, and I'm still competing with a ghost. Silence. Real silence this time. Patricia's composure began to crack. This is ridiculous. You're being dramatic. No, I replied softly. I'm done being polite. Daniel stood up now, too, but I couldn't tell yet whether he was standing with me or against me. And for the first time that night, I realized something else. This wasn't about Caroline. This was about control, and I had just broken it. Chapter 3. Choose. Daniel pushed his chair back slowly. The sound echoed louder than mine had. Emily, he said carefully, like he was diffusing a bomb. Can we not do this right now? Not. Mom, apologize. Not. This was out of line. Can we not do this? I felt something inside me settle. For 3 years, I had told myself he just needed time, that he was caught in the middle, that eventually he would choose us. But standing there, watching him look at his mother before looking at me, I realized something painful. He had already chosen. Patricia crossed her arms. Daniel, sit down. This is exactly what Caroline warned us about. The name again. Weaponized. Daniel's jaw tightened. Mom, stop. But it wasn't firm. It wasn't final. I turned to him fully now. Not angry, not loud, just clear. Did you know she was going to do that tonight? His hesitation lasted half a second too long. That's not fair, he said. That wasn't an answer. The silence told me everything. Patricia stood up abruptly. I will not be attacked in my own home. No one's attacking you, I replied. I'm just done pretending. My sister-in-law muttered something about this being so uncomfortable. My father-in-law stared at his plate like it might rescue him. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, that nervous habit he has when he wants something to disappear. Emily, you're overreacting. There it was, the word that shrinks women down. Overreacting. I let out a soft breath. To being publicly humiliated? It was a joke. A joke is when everyone laughs. No one had laughed. Patricia stepped closer to him now, lowering her voice but not enough. You see, this is what happens when you marry someone who doesn't understand our family. Our family, not his marriage, not his wife. I watched his shoulders tense. And then it happened. He didn't move toward me. He moved toward her. Not dramatically, not consciously. Just a small shift in stance. But it was enough. Something inside me went quiet. Not shattered. Quiet. I'm not asking you to fight her, I said calmly. I'm asking you to stand beside me. Daniel looked torn. She's my mother. And I'm your wife. That hung in the air. Patricia scoffed. Don't make him choose. I held her gaze. I'm not. I looked back at Daniel. I'm asking him to decide who he's building a life with. The room felt like it was holding its breath. For a second, just a second, I saw conflict in his eyes. And then he said it. Can we please just drop it? Not tonight, not here, not now. Drop it. 3 years of swallowing comments, 3 years of being compared, 3 years of waiting for him to draw a line, and he wanted to drop it. I nodded slowly. You're right, I said. Patricia looked relieved. Daniel looked grateful. They thought I was surrendering. I picked up my purse from the back of my chair. I'm done doing this here. Daniel blinked. Where are you going? I looked at him, really looked at him. I'm going somewhere I don't have to compete with your past. And then I walked toward the front door. No one tried to stop me. Not Patricia, not his father, not his sister, and not my husband. The cold night air hit my face the second I stepped outside, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt awake. Chapter 4. The quiet shift. I didn't go to a friend's house. I didn't go to a hotel. I went to my car, and I sat there, hands on the steering wheel, heart steady, mind clearer than it had been in years. For 3 years, I had been trying to win a competition that shouldn't have existed. Caroline wasn't the problem. Patricia wasn't even the real problem. The problem was that I had been waiting for someone else to validate my place in my own marriage. And that night, something clicked. I stopped waiting. Instead of driving home, I drove to my office. Yes, at 9:40 p.m. on a Sunday. Because here's the part Patricia never cared to learn about me. I'm not just Daniel's wife. I'm a partner at a consulting firm in Manhattan. And 6 months ago, when Daniel decided to simplify our finances, I had agreed to something I now regretted. We consolidated assets into an account his mother's financial advisor managed. At the time, it felt practical. Now it felt strategic. Just not in my favor. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up every document I had access to: marriage certificate, property deed, investment accounts, business equity. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for clarity. And clarity is powerful. By midnight, I had emailed my attorney, a woman Patricia would absolutely hate. Subject line: need to review financial structure, urgent. I wasn't filing for divorce, not yet, but I was done being unprepared. Around 12:30 a.m., my phone buzzed. Daniel. I let it ring once, twice, then I answered. Where are you? He asked. Not, are you okay? Just logistics. I needed space, I said calmly. He sighed. You embarrassed my mom. I almost laughed. She toasted your ex-girlfriend. She didn't mean it like that. She said, the one who really had his heart. Silence. Then, you know how she is. Yes, I did. And I knew how he was, too. Daniel, I said evenly, do you want a wife or a referee? That's not fair. No, I said softly. What's not fair is standing alone in your own marriage. He didn't respond. And for the first time, I didn't rush to fill the silence. I love you, he finally said, but it sounded tired, conflicted. I closed my eyes for a second. Love without boundaries isn't love, I replied. It's permission. Another long pause. What are you saying? I'm saying I won't compete anymore. For what? For a place that should already be mine. He didn't argue this time, and that told me everything. After we hung up, I looked around my quiet office. The city lights stretched outside the windows. Solid, unapologetic, unimpressed. I realized something steady and undeniable. If I had to choose between being liked at that dinner table or respected in my own life, I already knew my answer, and this time I wasn't standing up for attention. I was repositioning, quietly, legally, completely. Chapter 5. No More Ghosts. 3 days later, Daniel asked if we could talk. Not at home, not at his mother's house, somewhere neutral. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between my office and our apartment, public enough to stay civil, private enough to be honest. He looked tired, not devastated, not transformed, just inconvenienced by tension. I talked to my mom, he started. I stirred my coffee slowly. And? She feels bad. I waited. She says she didn't mean to hurt you. There it was again. Intent over impact. I held his gaze. Did she apologize? She said she would, if that's what you need. If that's what you need. Like basic respect was optional. I reached into my bag and slid a folder across the table. He frowned. What's this? Clarity. Inside were printed copies of our financial restructuring documents, property shares, account transfers, legal notes. His expression shifted from confusion to concern. You talked to a lawyer? Yes. Emily, why? Because I should have done it before I said I do. He leaned back in his chair. You're acting like we're getting divorced. I'm acting like I refuse to be unprotected. His jaw tightened. So what? This is punishment. No, I said calmly. This is balance. I explained it clearly. I was separating my business income again, removing joint oversight from his mother's advisor, restructuring ownership percentages on the investment property, back to proportional contribution. Nothing dramatic, nothing vindictive, just accurate. You don't trust me, he said quietly. I met his eyes. I don't trust a dynamic where I'm the only one expected to adjust. Silence stretched between us. For the first time since the dinner, he didn't defend her. He didn't minimize. He didn't say I was overreacting. Instead, he asked something different. What do you want? And that question mattered. I want a husband who doesn't freeze when I'm disrespected, I said. I want to walk into a room knowing I'm your partner, not your compromise. He looked down at the table. I didn't realize it was that bad. Because you weren't the one shrinking. I softened, just slightly. I never asked you to fight your mother, I said. I asked you to choose your marriage. Another long pause. Then he said it. I was afraid. Of what? That if I pushed back, I'd lose her. I nodded slowly. And instead, you almost lost me. That landed, really landed. For the first time, I saw something shift in him. Not defensiveness, awareness. I don't want to compete with my past, I continued, and I won't compete with your mother. He exhaled deeply. What happens now? I closed the folder and slid it back into my bag. Now you decide if you're ready to build something adult. He looked at me carefully. And if I am? Then there are boundaries, clear ones, public ones. And if she crosses them again, we leave, together. And if I'm not? I held his gaze steadily. Then I already stood up once. I can do it again. The cafe was quiet around us. Ordinary life moving forward. No dramatic music, no shouting, just a choice. He reached across the table slowly, not to stop me, not to silence me, but to take my hand. I don't want ghosts at our table anymore, he said. Neither did I. Whether that meant rebuilding or walking away, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would never again sit quietly while someone toasted my replacement. And that changed everything.